First of all, I hope my screen is visible, and welcome to all of you who are attending this presentation on a Monday evening, right? So you might be all done with your college, and you might be thinking, okay, who's this guy showing me photos of somebody? So who actually this face, what you see on the screen, actually looks dumb, right? So this is actually me in eighth grade, and this is when I actually got into stock market, right? So I was not a very smart kid, to be honest, but I was doing fairly well. So I was, you can say, I was an average student doing fairly well, and around the maybe when I was studying in seventh or eighth grade is when I actually got into markets through my father. So I saw him watch CNBC, so he was watching regularly. And that's when it kind of spiked my curiosity. Okay, what exactly are these things moving down with the ticker tape attached bottom, right? So then the prices were going up and down. So then I was also curious. So what exactly it is, and that's how I actually got into market. So then I started trying out trading intraday. Then I started trying out investing. Then I started swing trading. Then I started option buying, option selling, so on. And so what happened meanwhile is I also started this blog in 10th standard where I used to uh, give, say, intraday calls, short-term calls, bank nifty calls, and so on. So the thing is, so back then, unfortunately, when I was in eighth grade, right? So I thought, okay, I'm some kind of an SEO expert, so I can crack this code. So I had named my blog as Stock Market Calls India. So what it actually meant is I was like, okay, if somebody search stock market or stock market calls or stock market India, so I thought my blog would be coming on the top because it has all the keywords in the title itself. So you might pretty well know that I was not successful with this SEO experiment of mine, right? And then from there I moved on to PU, right? So let me just come back to the slide. So from there I moved on to PU, and then finally I came to Christ. So this is actually a photo of mine from Christ, and this is in near Nandini Booth. So you might all be uh, well aware of that. So the thing here is coming to Christ was actually a big turnaround for me. So let me tell you why. So when I was actually studying in school, right? So even though it was an English medium school, right? So we conversed only in Kannada, right? So I never really framed any sentence in English, right? Neither I was able to converse well with in English. And once I came to Christ, so obviously all the conversations in Christ happens in English, right? So this is when I actually found it really hard to communicate well. So I actually came to Praram finals. I was actively festing in Christ. I had my love for numbers from the beginning. So I was in finance. I was sub-event head, both, and I also won Praram. Right. So the thing here is, even though I was good with numbers, I was not really good with communication because whenever I went on stage, I used to be really scared. The only reason is because I couldn't speak well. Not that I speak great today, right? So at least I have improved. So at least I'm able to sit here and give a lecture. So I make a lot of mistakes even now, but I feel as long as what I intend to say gets communicated to the other end, that's pretty good enough, right? So this is the time when I thought, okay, I have been doing option trading, equity trading, swing trading, whatnot for almost close to 4 years. And these 4 years, right, from 2000, almost around 13 till 2017, till I came to Christ. So I was not profitable. It took me almost 4.5 years to actually make my first profit on a quarter basis, right? So one day you would be making money, second day you would be losing it all. So it took me almost close to one entire 4 years for me to actually turn one entire quarter into profits. So this is when I actually started selling options, and slowly that quarter became profitable. Then the next quarter became profitable. I slowly started to gain confidence, and I thought, okay, why not now? I felt okay. Somewhere I felt okay. I am a best fund manager. I will compound my money at XYZ rates, and we are going to grow crazy, right? So in 2019, what happened was I thought, okay, let me. So this was actually in 2019, but in 2017, I guess, so 17-18 period, we thought, me and a couple of my friends, so we thought, okay, let's take some money from all of our friends, right? So a small sum. Back then, leverage was there. So today, unfortunately, people who want to get into option selling, a lot of things which we had before does not exist today. So before you could start selling options or trading with options, even as low as 20 to 30,000 rupees overall. But because with 30-40x leverage, this 30,000 was equivalent to somewhere around 10 to 12 lakh, right? So today, unfortunately, we don't have this concept called as leverage with options, right? So we started this thing called as optionables. We collected money from all of our friends, and then we started trading on that money. And luckily, back then, with option selling, especially in 2017-18 period, there were not a lot of people. And trust me, it was more or less like free money which you could make on levered capital, right? So that is the best kind of return what you would be able to generate. So on a regular basis, we were able to get somewhere around 2 to 3% every single week. So I'm not even talking about month, right? So I'm talking about week, because you were doing it on a capital which was levered. So then, small money, you can take how much ever big risk you want, because in end of the day, if you lose, you will be losing 25 to 30,000, right? So in the worst case, I would be going back to my father. Please, if I lose all of this, I would be going back asking him for help and repaying everybody. So that was the idea. So slowly we started delivering returns, and yeah, more and more people started to, whoever had invested say with 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, started to give more money because we were delivering consistent returns, right? And the very first thing, or the most important thing which we have followed from day one, is to be as open and as transparent as possible, whether it's a profit or a loss, right? So we always believe, if I don't hide anything from you, so you will be able to trust me more and give me more money. So it might happen that one year I might not be able to perform, the other year I might actually outperform, right? So for you to stick with me in that one year where I am not performing, the most important thing is I be as open and honest with you as possible. So even today, we follow that as the core ethic in our company, right? So one of the core ethics, that is to be as honest and transparent as possible, because if you show your losses, there is nothing to be ashamed of, right? So it's a part and parcel of the business, right? So if you're transparent to your people, right, so they will be there with you no matter what. The day you even try to tell us a single thing which is not true, right, and they get to know about it, doesn't matter how long you have built your trust, how long you have built the reputation, or how well you are performing, right? So they would not want to associate with you, right? So this is how, believe it or not, slowly the money started flowing in, and by end of 2018, I suppose, right? So we had close to around, so we started with hardly around 20-30,000, and we had close to around 5 to 10 lakh. And by the end of 2019, right? So just from people in Christ, right? So it might be few of the lecturers who supported us, right? So the thing is, if you are really passionate about something, so try approaching your lecturers. They would be definitely willing to help you out, support you in the initial stage, right? You don't need any VC, you don't need any angel like angel investments or venture capital or any kind of seed funding to kickstart the idea. All you need is, if you're really passionate about something, you can just go around asking for people, and when people also see that passion in you, right, so they would be always willing to support. And you can actually make use of your Christ lecturers, who do have a lot of contacts in the first place, and in the worst case, they themselves will be willing to invest in one of your ventures, right? So this is how we started to get a lot of capital, believe it or not. By end of 2019, mid of 2019, right? So we had an overall corpus of almost close to around 35 to 40 lakh, right? So all this money is just from Are Christ friends' parents? So our relatives or Christ faculty. So just imagine. So you don't, if to raise big funds, you don't actually have to go out, right? So this is how our journey started at Optionables, right? So then I had also applied to a firm. So in the placement, I only sat for one placement when I was in Christ, and that company was called as Axela, right? And luckily somehow I made it through. But at this time, I was in a dilemma, right? So whether to take up the job or should I end up continuing something which is going so well? The only reason why we were able to get so much money is because the returns were consistently flowing in. So when I said 2-3% a week, imagine if you're able to deliver that return on a consistent basis, quarter over quarter, right? So you can raise any amount of funds. So that shouldn't be an issue at all. So even if you start with as low as few thousands, you would be able to raise in lakhs. So luckily for us, this period was actually a boon, you might say. So because 2020, the leverage started to go off the market. So SEBI banned this leverage. But by that time, by the time we came to 2020, we had already built the trust. We had already uh, accumulated enough capital to trade on a bigger scale, right? So then came this thing. So this is actually a copy of my placement letter, and so when I got this, I was quite confused. So should I take it up or not? So my parents were very in favor of me going for the job because they told what you're doing is essentially a gamble, right? And I don't see any career out of this. Second one and third one, I don't see a stable career out of it. And finally, you should get some corporate experience before you start anything on your own. So, which are fairly valid points. So, today, if somebody is coming and telling that I want to have a startup in markets, I would also maybe tell the same thing what my parents told me, right? So, again, like small things matter a lot, right? So the thing is, even back then when I was giving the interview, I was very scared because I couldn't speak properly, right? I couldn't frame proper sentences in English. You might be already seeing that right over here. So I will be making here and there mistakes in grammar, and that was even more evident when I was giving these interviews. So the most important thing was whenever anything came with number crunching or whenever any tasks were given around company analysis, I was able to do pretty well, right? So then it was not during this time I understood the importance of communication, but maybe going later on, right? So that's when communicating well, articulating what you're thinking, your entire thoughts well, and putting it forward out there really matters, right? So today you're giving me, let's say, an hour to speak, so I can go wrong. But when I don't have time, when I have to tell something, maybe in 5 minutes, 10 minutes to somebody, right? So that time, how I'm going to pitch, how confident I am, and how I'm going to articulate things matters a lot. So this is one more very important skill, which you should start focusing in case many of you would be really good at it. Some of you might lack it. So in case if you are lacking it, you can actually start working on it. So if I can do it, definitely you can do it because I was pretty bad, to be honest. Right? So then I sent Subhashri ma'am. I don't know if she's still in main campus. So some of you might already know her. I sent, I'm sorry for the delay. So unfortunately, I wouldn't be going ahead. And because I told I had got some alternate job options, but I was planning to start this on my own. So I convinced my parents saying that, let me give it a try. So, anyways, let me just quickly move on with the story. Then I'll come to the current part, which I feel is more interesting and important. So then we thought, okay, we'll start with an office. So our first office was a garage office. So inspired by all the famous garage stories of Amazon, Apple, whatnot, right? So we converted this garage into this particular garage just by spending few thousands, right? I don't think we spent more than 5-6 thousand. So we ourselves painted it, and we later also incorporated a firm which is optionable. So this was done in October 2019, right? So finally, sorry, December 18th, 2019, and finally once Optionables was also incorporated. So we three started, but later, so this is Sujit, Saurabh, and this is me, obviously, right? And so later, okay, then I'll come to the social media aspect. So this is one thing which actually gave us the required boost, right? So till then, we were trading with a pretty good corpus, no doubt. So our corpus, without anything, right? Just on the basis of performance, had by the time of 2021 had increased to almost close to around 3.5 4 CR. So part of it was because of the returns what we had generated, and other part of it was simply because people were confident enough and they kept on putting more and more funds. So when we made it into a partnership, we were very clear on who to take as partners. So people who had actually the funds to scale up. So we took hardly 7 to 8 partners initially, right? So the thing is, then social media aspect, you might already be knowing that I was quite active on all these online platforms from the beginning, right? So I was already doing a blog in 2014. Then when YouTube came, I started trying out YouTube. But to be honest, YouTube had never really picked up till 2020, right? So we kept on posting regular videos. So the thing is, here is one more important lesson in your entrepreneurship journey, right? So some things you just do it as a regular process, right? So don't expect anything out of it. You because you don't know when something which you're doing today is going to give you results. So YouTube was one such thing for us where we kept on doing it on a regular basis almost from 2019 or even earlier, right? So hardly 3, 5, 10 people watched our videos. So we used to put in full efforts to make a video, but nobody really sat and watched our videos. But then came COVID, right? So you don't know, as I said, you don't know what will click when, right? So even though we were doing for so many years, right? It was in 2021 where suddenly one of our videos started to pick up. We don't know how, what clicked, nothing, right? Suddenly one video started to get the boost which we were looking for years, right? And I keep telling this to people, right? So if you're doing the right thing, you just have to try to keep improvising it. So you just want it to reach to one right person, or you just want one video to become viral, or you want just one right thing to happen. The downside is just the time you're spending, but the upside can be quite a lot in case if things work out in your favor. So post this, we got a huge boom in YouTube, and that really changed a lot of things for us. So we started getting offers from corporates to manage our funds. Like they appointed us as traders to manage the funds. We started getting offers from HNIs who appointed us to manage their funds. So this way started getting a lot of offers. So we weren't taking money from anybody, right? So apart from the partnership firm what we had, so we didn't ask anybody to give us money, right? So we thought, okay, we will manage it for you, but you keep it in your own account. So whenever we are doing something, we will inform and do it for you as well, right? So the thing is, obviously, in this game, you can't see legally. We are not supposed to take money from anybody and trade for them, right? So when we are going for public, even in the partnership, we were very clear on who to add, right? So it was mostly our relatives itself who got added. So very close friends and relatives who came in as partners for the firm. And alongside, the second important thing is also, so we never took money from anybody into our bank, right? So we told whomever we want to manage, you keep the money yourself. So we are going to try to manage it, right? So the thing is, when you're doing this, you can't do it as a what can I say, as a public service, right? So when I say public service, it cannot be open to public. Anybody you want me to manage, come, I will manage the funds for you. No, that is not allowed. But if one or two corporates want to appoint you as the main trader to trade in their account, that is absolutely okay. So this is how our trade. So this is like we used to work and play, and then finally this is one of our growth in AUM, right? So currently it is somewhere around 50 to 60 CR. So this is how more or less the journey began. And this, since I told this is the old PPT, I haven't updated the latest one. Right? So it has been mostly an onward and upward journey from there, right? So as and when you started delivering performance, so people started to trust you more and give you more funds. So if you were looking for what kind of returns we gave, so you can see this was the kind of returns we delivered on a consistent basis. So 2019-20 was also a very good year. So unfortunately we got hit in the COVID crash, otherwise this would also have been a 100% plus year. So by this time, the leverage started going out, and once the leverage started going out, so returns generation started becoming much harder. But by this time, you already had built the base upon which you could simply leverage, right? So traders' journey is right not something what you see on screen. So this is what my friends think I do, right? So this is what my mom thinks I do, and this is what society. You can basically see the slide, and unfortunately, all you have to do is it's a very stressful job, to be honest, right? So extremely stressful because I will tell you one thing about markets in general is the day you don't perform, right? So people are going to shift because end of the day people don't. So one part they see okay how honest you are, but for people who are coming, there might be a particular set of people whom you would have built a relation, right? So people who you build a relation are going to stay with you for a very long time. For example, you are investing in a mutual fund. If that fund does not give the required performance, maybe for a couple of quarters, so very likely you would be shifting your money from that fund to some other fund. Nobody really cares who the fund manager is, whatnot. Right? So when you start scaling, this is going to be one of the problem where people will only start to become performance oriented rather than so the whole scope for personalized relation and all will start to go out. Right. So the thing is, I was like, okay, I am trader from the very beginning, right? But one thing that really started to change for us is where we were trading without pressure before, and suddenly we started to take a lot of pressure to trade later on. So here is where the next part of the journey starts, and to be honest, like I am very entrepreneurial in nature. So anything I want to see new, I want to start it. I want to help people start something. I want to be invested with people to start something. Right. So then came the time of okay. I thought okay, see, this is not something very scalable. So unless you do it on a large scale like a mutual fund, which initially I had ideas of, right, but later I thought okay, maybe I'm more happy doing it for people I know, people like myself and people I know, rather than doing it on a larger scale. So, but I wanted to do something with markets itself. So I thought, why not try building? Because I was in this industry for so long, I knew every like pinpoint issues of this industry, where exactly the issues are, where exactly things can be improved. So I thought I can do a lot with tech, and it is also scalable. So even with the legality issues, it is quite scalable and you can easily do a lot of things. So this is where my tech part of the journey began. So this was in 2021, right? So where we thought 21, yeah, almost end of 21. So we thought, okay, we have a huge opportunity to help people automate the trades. So back then, till then, there was no automation platform, and automation platform ideas were just there, but nobody had really built a solid execution platform. So then I got an idea. So we have the kind of resource, we have the marketing tools that we like. Social media was one of the fantastic marketing tools you can use, right? So why not build something around tech? So now comes the challenge, right? So how do you hire tech people? You don't have any background in tech. You don't know to write a single line of code. So now you have to hire people, right? So when you have to hire people and you don't know anybody, so obviously it's a very, very bad mix. So what is the next alternative option? the alternative option is to go somebody who can build a product for you, right? So work with a team, work with a software company which can build a product for you. So next challenge was to go and find that company, and we found one in Bangalore. So now I'll tell you the story here, right? So after finding the tech company, right? So they don't know anything about market, and you don't know anything about tech. Just imagine two people conversing in two different languages, and nobody is understanding anything on the other side, right? So they are not understanding anything I'm telling about markets, and I am not understanding anything they are telling about tech, right? So by this time they slowly started to understand. We had sessions, meetings over meetings, right, where we gave kt of markets, then everything. So then they designed an architecture, built the product, everything. So it was almost 1.5 years before the final product came out. But unfortunately, the final product was actually trash, right? So they had built in a way which was absolutely not scalable, which had too many issues. The thing is, it's not their fault, because even they are new to the domain. So whatever they understood, they built from that, right? So it's nobody's fault. I can't even blame them. Neither I could do anything because I hardly understood tech, right? So now we had invested a lot of money in this. So because this tech thing went on for almost 1.5 years, right? So then what do we do? So then, like, we had no idea like what to do, right? So then we tried hiring. So the only issue with a startup is, if you want quality, right, it comes with a cost, and as a startup you can't afford it, right? So we had an overall tech budget of somewhere around 30 to 40 lakh a year. And when I say tech budget, I am talking about including server and 2 to 3 people, right? So at least 3 people, right? So one maybe for front end, back end, and design, or like front end, back end, server, and we can outsource the design. So we had a total budget of 30 to 40 lakh for this. But tech really is extremely expensive, right? Extremely expensive. And people who were coming and with 2 3 years of experience, they were asking for 5% stake and 36 lakh package, 28 lakh package, so on, which was totally unaffordable by us, because we couldn't spend so much on a single person whom we also didn't know whether you had the right knowledge to build the tech or not, right? So this is where, when you don't have a particular thing, right, and you want to build a particular thing, there will be people who will be lacking the other part. So this is where you have to look for, connect with as many people as possible, right? Share your ideas with as many people as possible. Try to contact as many people as possible. Somewhere or some place you will actually find a synergy. So, through this, while we were trying to do all of this, we luckily found a team. So this team had actually built the same product of ours. They had the same idea, but unfortunately, this team was based out of Pune. Unfortunately, they didn't have the marketing. So we had the marketing, we didn't have the product. They had the product, they didn't have the marketing. So this was a perfect synergy for us. So the only way we could reach a small team somewhere working in some corner of Pune is because you try to network with as many people as possible. Otherwise, it's impossible. How will you even get to know somebody who is so distant apart? I'm from Bangalore, Jainagar, and they are from some, not even Pune. It's called as Dhule, right? So it's somewhere interiors of Pune. Right? So how will you even get in touch with them? So that would be only possible given that you actually talk to people, share the ideas, ask them for contacts, right? So then finally we got into collaboration. We started building the product, and our first product came out towards the end of 2023. So now we also launched our second product, and now this is mostly a tech journey where we are primarily focusing now. So we have a big product pipeline. So we are working on building new products. We are working on developing existing products. We are working on getting customers to the product. We are working on converting. So we work on B2B software developments only for market related things, right? So if some business or institute institution like coaching institution and is coming and telling we want some algo products for our institute. So B2B or B2C. So we are in-house developing B2C products. We are also giving white label solutions to B2B. So if anybody is coming and telling that I want this particular software to be built, so we are doing that. So currently the entire tech is in Pune, and the this thing trading and the customer support, sales, everything happens in Bangalore. So this is more or less how our company is operating, right? So the thing is, tech as a whole is doing fairly well. So we are getting customers on a regular basis. So we are also trying to improve, but we also want to take it to next level. The only issue is, by the time we actually came into the market, the idea was of 2021, where absolutely nobody was there. But unfortunately, for the product to come out to the market, it was 2024. So by that time, a lot of people already came out with automation solutions, right? So now the idea is, how do you actually stand out, right? So how do you stand out of the crowd? So how do you build new, come up with new ideas, try to build new solutions, right? So that is something which we are actively working on. Plus we are also working on our trading, but we are not really planning to scale up the trading. So idea is not to take it to 1000 crores or 2000 crores. That is not the idea, because we feel we are less pressurized by working on our own capital. So if I can take my tech business to say 500,000 crores, I will be more than happy to trade on that capital alone. So I don't want capital from outside, right? So the thing is, this is one part where the challenge really comes with sales and marketing. So the thing is, I will tell you. So mostly today, marketing is dependent on personal branding of Saketh, right? So I try to push on Twitter, I try to push on YouTube, I try to push on Instagram. So I want to eliminate this entire personal branding association with the product, right? And give the brand a identity of itself. So nobody should today, since I have followers, I am actively promoting it and it is reaching out to people. So I don't want anybody to call it Saketh's product. I don't want my name to be associated with it. Why? Because I want the product to stand on its own, right? So somebody should tell I am automating using FinTarget because their automation solution is excellent. So I found FinTarget because they are offering something, right? So I want the branding of the company to happen by itself. So definitely I will be pushing it, but so I want the identity of the brand to come as a primary thing. Because tomorrow, if let's say I don't push it or I can't push it due to anything, so the brand should have its own identity, and that's the most important thing. So when you are trying to build something scalable, it cannot be done on a personal brand basis. If you are trying to do a business, definitely you can do on a personal brand basis, but as you want to scale it to a larger and larger extent, right, just doing it on a personal brand will not be sufficient, right? So you can see any big brands for that matter, right? So like you see personal branding versus a corporate branding, right? So a person who is building a business around his personal brand can go to 50, 100, 150 crores, right? But if you want to grow your business maybe to 20,000, 50,000 crores, just I'm giving a vague number, or even to 2,000, 5,000 crores, it is very difficult to do just with around personal. It has to involve, your product should come on top and have its own identity, right? So that is something really important. So that's the reason you find so many corporate brands which are quite big, personal brands which are doing fantastic, amazing cash flow, but and hardly few of them grow that big, right? So not everybody is able to build $1 billion or $10 billion enterprise just with personal branding. So this is one challenge what we have. So that is creating a nice, clean social media for the tech product, that is FinTarget, and making sure that we have nice funnels for sales conversion. We have a good marketing pitch, so good pitch for B2B to make that as a white label solution. So quite a lot of interesting stuff around that, how we can work on that. And the second one is a new thing which we were actually planning to do is we understood that because we keep interacting with traders in and out, right? So we understood that the main issue is a trader comes to the market, most of the traders. So we know that 90% of the traders lose money, right? So 90% of these traders come to the market not to become a trader, but just to earn quick money. Right? So this urge to earn quick money is actually quite deep rooted. So it is not as superficial as it looks. So I want to make money. So let me just end up taking the trade. I'll get some money. I'll be happy with it. No, right? So there is something very, very deep and dark. Most of the cases, this is the case. A person who is coming with 50,000, 1 lakh rupees, what would generally be the case is he will be in heavy financial burden, right? So he will have bills to clear, loans to clear, and he wants some way to make that quick money. Second one is mostly you see people who are so unemployment is a real big issue even if you don't notice it. So today a lot of people who are finishing their education is unable to get placed anywhere. So this might look like a small thing outside, but if you take a look at it, all of these people are actually coming into trading. And what are the revenue sources of their parents? It's generally farming, or the parent would be working in service sector, working day in day out very hard, and these people just borrow money and bring it into the market. So then there will be a lot of people. So I will tell you the core fundamental of it. The core fundamental of it would be is somebody to prove his self-worth to somebody. So they associate making money as, okay, I am proving my self-worth. I am showing the society, I'm showing my spouse, I'm showing my parents that I am also worth of something. I am not good for nothing. So a lot of these things, whether if you actually start digging deep into it, right? So a lot of these things actually start to emerge. And even for people who are into regular trading, there is always this sense of, you might ask any of your traders, right? Stress, anxiety, and loneliness, right? So as a trader, it's a very lonely profession, right? So you will be sitting in front of the screen. The last image what I have attached, right? So losses, you have to go with a heavy heart back home, right? So profits, you will be happy, but not anybody to share with. Losses, you will be sad, but there is nobody to share with, right? So people don't understand what you're doing. People don't understand what you're going through. So this can also happen for a profitable trader, and it will be happening more for a loss-making trader who is already in stress. So we understood there is a big gap. So this is a pretty famous concept in other countries, that is trading psychology, right? So I feel that entire aspect is totally missing in India, right? So what we are also planning to do is have a counseling session for traders, right? So it is a structured session, it is not a random talk you're going to have. So we are going to talk, like there's a proper structured conversation which is going to be happening with traders and not with us, that is. So it is going to be conducted by professional psychologists themselves, right? So what we are trying to do here is for people who are profitable, who are doing well, so they can directly afford to pay for the sessions. For those who don't, right? So we are actually trying to tie up with brokers. So we are in talks with Grow, we are in talks with Upstocks, Fires, right? So to make trading psychology as a part of their this thing itself. So how many of them will actually be open to having this idea on their platform? I am not really sure. So we have pitched to all of them, and all of them have said they will get back to us. So this B2B is one of the aspects. B2C is the other aspect, where you directly pitch to the customers and you make them like understand the importance of this, right? And so the thing is, people who are already in financial trouble, the first thing they have to do is safeguard their money, put it into something safe, right? So not come and trade with that, right? So the thing is, when you ask their 5-year goal, 3-year goal, they don't want to even stay in the market. They just want to take quick money and go out. So there are deep rooted challenges here which a person actually faces, right? So this is another aspect of it apart from tech, which we are trying to focus, because we feel there's a huge opportunity and nobody is really even trying to touch upon it. So we are tying up with a counseling center, and they have already taken some pilot sessions, and they are going to conduct this, and we are wanting to launch this as a new product into the market. So broadly, these are our scopes. So in trading, what we are going to do is we have a dedicated team who is working on research, who is working on trading. So there we are not looking at anything as a whole. So we feel the kind of clients we have, so we have extremely good relationship with them, right? So, and we are very confident that even if we don't give a performance for 2 3 years, nobody is going to leave, because that is the kind of trust we have built over years. So that is first. Second one is social media, which we are mostly doing it on a regular basis. We have a small team for social media, which helps to, like, I do the scripting myself, they record, edit, and post it. So 2 people are there on social media. And next, coming to the tech part, as I said, so we are building new products. So there, the challenging is to give the brand a identity of itself and make sure that there's a steady stream of sales funnel coming through the brand social media pages, brand as an identity itself, rather than like associating any personal brand to it. And finally, this is a new venture which we want to get into, and there is absolutely nobody in this field, right? So when I say nobody, trust me, there is nobody. It's a whole new market on its own, right? So there, you can hardly do any kind of market study. Only thing is, you are creating a new niche around this thing, and you don't know how it is going to work. So this is something which we want to try out and see how the overall thing is going to take place. So broadly, this is the story, this is the journey, and these are some things what which we are doing. And yeah, so in case if you have any questions around this, I will be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Saketh, for taking us through this journey in a very short span, probably around 30, 35 minutes. You could summarize everything and give us a really good insight as to what your passion has been towards what you've invested your time and energy in. So I am a little curious to know about two things before I invite other students to ask questions and continue this conversation.
Right, sir.
Number one, you mentioned about it's always better that we keep the personal brand away from the brand that which you are trying to build. But there are a lot of personal brands which are popular as well. So, why do you think, if you could just elaborate a bit more on why do you think that personal branding um,
Right,
is
sir. Yeah. So actually, personal brand is very important. There is no doubt about it. But the thing is, I personally believe, so a company to thrive shouldn't be dependent on a person or an external individual, right? It should have the capacity to do well on its own. Tomorrow, if I don't post anything on my social media, it shouldn't be that the business can't do anything on its own, right? So somewhere you want, on the social media also, somewhere I feel, okay, I have done enough promotion for this, because if I keep promoting this, people might stop watching me, right? So that issue shouldn't come up where, okay, you feel, okay, you have overdone something, and so basically that is one thing. As I already mentioned, that there is absolutely, if you want to build a scalable business of say 50 100 crores, absolutely possible with personal brand. But I feel when you're looking at the organization at large, right, so businesses should thrive on their own and not be dependent on somebody else's personal brand marketing for its business. So in such cases, it will be heavily dependent on that person, and without that person, the brand can't do business on its own. That is a bigger problem actually to scale up. So you can only take it to an extent, but if you want to go beyond an extent, let's say you want to make a $1 billion company, let's say Zomato is, say, is a 20 $30 billion company. You know Zomato by Zomato, not Deependra Goyal is a fantastic person. Today, all of us know him because of Shark Tank. So without that, also people knew the brand, right? So like Boat, for example, anybody today, if you see, people who come on Shark Tank, you knew all the brands. Now you know the founders also, right? So brands could stand out for themselves without the founder actually having to come on the show. So something like that. To you have to. I feel that's the way to build something scalable.
Okay. Just one more question. How do
Yeah.
you keep yourself updated and try to know what's happening in the industry? Is it that you read a lot, or is it that you watch videos or try to connect with entrepreneurs, or you try to socialize? Or is there any sort of a feedback mechanism that you have with all your stakeholders through which you get to know the pulse of the people? What has been your strategy to keep?
Yeah, sir, actually, that is a pretty, very good question, I would say. And to be honest, like, I feel this is where I personally believe, and I see that happening to myself also, right? So this is where I believe as you start getting into a particular thing, right? So your area of expertise is going to get concentrated, and your knowledge around is going to start to become little more obsolete. It's very hard to today if I speak to somebody in college, I get such fresh perspectives. Maybe I was able to get that when I was in college, and I feel that's the reason people are always in a hunt to hire new talent, because they are able to bring in more perspective, because they will be gathering information everywhere possible, right? So you are only focused on getting things, information what you want around, and this is where I feel like I can see that happening to myself, right? So that is why we try to keep as much as possible talking to connecting with college students. So when you said that there is this opportunity, I was first one to uh, tell very happy to be a part of it, because you keep getting a lot of fresh marketing perspective. I will tell you one, right? So I don't know if people are on Twitter, right? So I don't know this thing. So there was this marketing campaign actually which was run, right? So it is called by Bold Care. It all became very famous. So what this guy did is, today if you go with 1 lakh or 2 lakh marketing budget, so you can reach XYZ number of people, but everything is inorganic, right? So it's everything is paid. So what this guy did is he promoted his brand, and he also said that I am going to let you spend up to 1,000 rupees on my credit card, and he openly shared his credit card details. So anybody use this credit card, I'm going to share the OTP online. So this particular founder, who had less than 1,000 followers, not even 1,000, like I think hardly less than 500 followers, overnight got 20,000 followers, and that particular post hit around 6 million impressions. And this entire 6 million impression is actually considered organic by the social media. It is not considered as paid promotion or inorganic, right? So these are some of the ideas which, when you're focusing on the same thing again and again, these things never really flash. This is such a brilliant marketing idea. He got more reach than what a like paid marketing would have got. Everybody today who has seen that post knows who he is and what the brand name is, right? Everybody would have tried using his card, so there is a personal association which would have already been built. So today if he comes out and shows a product, right, so people are more likely to respond to his this thing, interact with him, right? So this is a fantastic branding idea, and these only can come with fresh thoughts. And the more we try to focus on something, these things actually stop. And I feel interaction, and it's you again, when you get something to read also, you generally read around your topic or area of interest. That's something which will usually tend to happen. So you just start building upon one. To get a diverse ideas, diverse knowledge, you have to talk to other people. I feel that is the easiest way to get it. And I
Okay.
watch a lot of YouTube videos, a lot.
Mhm. Thank you, Saketh, for addressing that question. Now, I would invite the audience, if you have any questions, to share your questions either in the chat window, or you could unmute and ask your question directly to the speaker, Saketh. And sorry, Saketh, I might not be able to continue in this platform. I would request Madhusudanan sir to do the concluding remarks after all the questions are over. I have another meeting to attend, so I hope for Madhu sir you would handle it. Thank you. Over to you,
Yes, sir.
Saketh. Over to the audience if you have any questions.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, guys, if there is any question you want to ask me, so you can feel free to do that. Let me see what else was there left in the slide. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is one of our new venture and office, yeah, and team. Yeah. Okay. Anyways,
Are there any questions? You can either unmute, ask the question directly, or even type your questions in the chat window. Anything specific to the strategy part of their expansion or growth? Madhu sir, would you wish to ask?
Saketh, profile was fantastic. So, how would you balance your work life and professional life, personal life and professional life?
so that is something unfortunately is very bad for me currently, which none of the people around me are quite happy, right? So I feel it's like at least it has gotten slightly better. So I feel the most important thing, sir, is to set up processes in the business. So initially, when you try to start, you try to do everything on your own. Then you get people to do. So sometimes the work won't be. They will start doing in some other way. So slowly, when you start building something, you set proper processes which can actually give you the time required. So now mostly my work is just to take up meetings, attend meetings, talk to people. So it has very little to do with execution. So I even though I like trading, I trade for myself. So most of the other things are handled by traders. So you try to set processes so that you get time to do the right thing for yourself. That is one thing. And even though, in spite of doing that, also it's not really that I have a great balance in my work and life.
Okay. So, on an average per day, how many hours will you work?
Sir, actually, it keeps it depends. Like for example, mostly you can say there is no end to it, right? So if from the time you get up, even though you're done with trading, there'll be one or the other meetings to attend. So for example, after this, there is a dinner which I have to go and attend with one of the clients, right? So then post that, there are a couple of presentations which I have to give by the end of this week, which I will sit and work in the night. So like this, sometimes additional things will be coming up. Sometimes they don't come up. So the work hours are never really defined. But again, so these are some things which I am not really proud of, right? So I'm not telling I'm very hardworking, no, right? So these things should end, right? So once you start developing good processes and good systems in the business, these things should end, and you have everything fixed, and things are going to be done in a systematic or a proper. There's a proper process, and things are going to get done in a systematic way. That is how you should be heading towards. That's where you have to be heading towards.
So, on an average, will you work for 15 hours or
Yeah, 12
16?
hours at least for sure. Like sometimes it goes beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. There's a question by Shada Mathur. How would you? How were you? Okay. How were you able to manage being a student initially? How long did it take you? The thing is, initially being a student, it was quite difficult. Like we used to take off washroom breaks after every single hour. So even though we didn't have the urge to use it, we simply used to go because we used to get to use our phones. And generally Thursday, even today is a expiry day. Today we have expiries on all days, but back then only Thursday was the expiry day. So we used to take. So luckily for us, we only had one period after the lunch break. So during lunch break itself, we used to go home, and unfortunately for us, so that particular this thing, we always fell short on attendance for that subject. And I think that subject was handled by Anson sir, if I'm not wrong. Right. So strategic financial management was the subject I remember. Right. So this way, like we were trying to manage wherever possible. We used to take an off. Whenever possible, we used to head to places where you used to get network increased. That is the biggest challenge actually. Right. So this way, somehow we were able to skim through the whole thing. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, what trading tools would you recommend? It depends on what kind of a trader you are, right? Uh, First of all, you have to define yourself whether you are a discretionary trader or you want to automate things. And even in automation, whether you want to, there are different kind of a simple time-based automation. There is rule-based automation, right? So again, it depends on what kind of a trader are you for me to suggest to. So I think a good tool would be Sensible if you have a Zerodha account, which most likely everybody here would have. So it is a free to use tool. So you can definitely check out Sensible for options at least. So if you are looking to learn markets from somewhere, right? So please, I think Varsity is the perfect place, right? So don't really go behind any paid courses, but yeah, make use of Varsity. That is a pretty good place to start off your market learning. And then I think there was one more question which I happened to miss. So I think just a second. So somehow I am not able to got the chance. So biggest lesson you have learned from a trade that didn't go as planned, right? Most of the trades don't go as planned, right? So the thing is, there is only a 50-50 chance that the trade can go in your favor. So most likely every two trades once you have to sit and see how you can manage the trade. So the thing is, one thing what we have surely learned is not okay. I will tell you with respect to stocks. So always be in relationship with stocks, but don't marry a stock, right? So when you marry a stock, it is, let's say you have invested, right, and something is not performing. This happened to us with Kotak and HDFC. So we were stuck in it for a long time, even though there were opportunities which were running in front of us. We just ignored because we were married to HDFC, right? If we were just in a relationship with it, we could easily break up and move on to a next one. So that is one important lesson. So the thing is, again, the whole point is you will still get to invest in HDFC at the same rate or same value, right? Sorry, same price, right? So there was no point in holding it for 4 years when there were really good cheap stocks, very good on technical side, extremely good on fundamental side, breaking out, hitting an all-time high. You just ignore that completely, and you get stuck with few stocks. This is not a. This is one of the big lessons what we have learned over time. And is it good to invest in IPOs? The thing is, see, IPO is mostly nobody really intends to hold what they buy, right? So everybody wants to just do a spin off. So they get here, they take it and sell it. So that way, you're not really investing in IPOs, you are trying to trade off IPOs, right? So these things will work. Usually IPOs always work because IPOs only come in bull market, right? So you will see so many IPOs because it's very easy to raise funds in bull market, right? So once the market turns, you're not going to get any IPOs also. So if you're lucky enough to keep getting the allotment, then definitely making use of 20, 30, 40% gains, absolutely no doubt over it, like no issue with that. So just be careful. One day you're going to get stuck or get hit very badly. But meanwhile, if you have accumulated enough profits with these IPOs, then absolutely no problem to take that one time hit. Swiggy IPO is coming, but it also depends on like I don't think valuation is finalized yet. I am not sure. Maybe I might have missed it. So I think uh, 12 billion was the last thing, and then they were devalued. I have actually got a little out of sync with the news, but yeah, um, you see the valuation and you see the growth story. If you see that is matching, then definitely yes, right? So you see what is the gray market premium. If you want to really stay invested in the company, then you have to see other things. If you just want to spin off your IPO shares, then just see what is the gray market premium and invest. So there is no need to do any fundamental analysis, because if your intention is to sell on the day one. See, potential for growth is already factored in with most of the sectors. So if you see data center stocks, all of them are up 5 to 10 times. So if you see power stocks, they have done really well, right? So pharma stocks have started to do really well. So potential for growth, exponential growth is something at this point. I am finding it hard to identify, but consistent growth you will get in most of the sectors. So technology definitely a plus sector to have on, right? And financials have fairly underperformed, so that can be potentially a good sector to bet on currently, right? So apart from that, most of the sectors like auto, power, PSU, you name it, everything has seen a run up, right? So which can be that next multi-bagger sector is little difficult to get at this point. So otherwise, if you take mid cap, small cap, and even some large cap tech stocks, so you have very consistent growth potential.
Okay, students, students, would you like to pose queries? Oh, Mr. Saketh, shall we wind up the session?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Saketh, it's a great journey, and first of all, I would like to thank uh, Amalnadan sir and Rishikesh sir for conducting this kind of wonderful sessions for the students to ignite the entrepreneurship and also strategy pushing. So it's a fabulous opportunity for the students to utilize these parameters in terms of setting strategic positioning and goals. So I thank Saketh for spending your valuable time in nurturing the skills among the students, more specifically about trading. And we wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
Mr.
you so much,
Saketh.
sir. Yeah, even I had a great time attending this, and yeah, thank you all.